The definition of a cheater by Oxford Dictionary is someone who acts dishonestly in order to gain an advantage. So it is factual by the very definition of the word that using exploits in video games makes you a cheater. Even if you don't use any hack clients, you are still cheating because you are acting dishonestly to gain an advantage. In today's video, I'll be talking about one of the most notorious and sadly widespread cheats in Vigor, and this cheat is the duping. I'm going to explain why it's bad for the game, what happens if you do it, why this is a just punishment for what you're doing, and what actions I would suggest the devs and really the community should take moving forward. I'm going to note, before I really get into the meat of this video, that a lot of my decision to make statements over this is because of a great fellow Vigor partner, Half Metal Fox. He's been very vocal about this lately, and I wanted to give my take and show support for what he's been doing. And I highly suggest you go check out his streams. I'll have a link for him in the description, and just ask him about it. He has some great opinions on this topic. But let's get right into this video. So now comes the most complicated part of the video. I can't exactly tell you how to duplicate because that would be counterproductive to the entire point of this video, but I also got to address exactly what duping is in order to make sure that those of you that are doing this unknowingly, stop. Duplication is the act of duplicating the weapons, ammo, or consumables in your inventory so that way you have more of them. And you're doing it in such a way that's, not the way the game intended. That's the most detailed explanation I can give without going into more detail, because going into more detail would just be stupid of me to do so. If you think you're doing this, I would suggest you just don't. If you think you're unfairly increasing the amount of weapons you have, you're probably doing the duplication. Just don't do it. It's just bad. Just bad. Don't do it. But why is it bad for the game? I keep saying it's bad, and I gotta explain why, right? Well, Vigor has something that I've referred to in my past videos as the Vigor economy. Now, a lot of people don't like that word, so I'm going to sub it out for this video for loot pool. The total amount of weapons that are in the loot pool and are available to active players. Now, somebody who thinks that duplication isn't really bad for the game would argue, well, no, I'm only really increasing the number of guns I have, and as a result, it's not going to hurt other people. It's just going to hurt either the devs or the people in my lobby. Well, that's not really true, though. By duplicating the amount of guns you have, you increase those guns' presence in the loot pool. You increase the number you have, let's say you're duplicating H-bars, you're increasing the total number of H-bars in the loot pool, which, as a result, will make H-bars more common. I'll give you this. If I duplicate H-bars and I create 16 H-bars that shouldn't exist by any logic of the loot pool, and then I die and lose all 16 of those H-bars, well, then those 16 H-bars are now going to be spread throughout the loot pool and get to people that they shouldn't, making the H-bar overly common when it shouldn't be. And you can argue, well, what if I don't die? Maybe it's not that bad. Well, yes, it is. Because if you bring out those 16 H-bars and you wipe a bunch of people out with the H-bars, you are still having a negative impact on the overall loot pool because you have a gun in an unjustly amount, in an unjust rate of that weapon. Like, you shouldn't have those 16 H-bars. You should have one. But since you have 16, you can die like 4 times or 5 times and still have large amounts in reserves that you just shouldn't have, as well as, ammo. And this will let you kill more people, and as a result, make you unjustly representing exactly what gear you should have. I don't know if that really was articulated well from me, but the long story short is that gear that shouldn't exist in the loot pool, when it exists, causes damage. If you want an example of a non-duplication that a lot of people in the community very much understand, if you were an old player, you played back in the days of the beta, there was the ADR. The ADR, because of the way crates used to work, could drop in stacks of 25 out of a gold crate. This caused it to be completely overrepresented in the loot pool and became way too common. This is the same type of thing that duplication has done to the H-bar and the SG, and is the reason why, in part, these two guns are so common, or able to be so common. Moving from there, the punishment for doing duplication is a stash wipe. This punishment makes perfect sense. I've heard a lot of people say, well, it's not fair. The damage I'm doing is minor. And even in counting in this whole, overinflating the loot pool, it's not large enough of a hurt, because it's each one person, that a wipe is worth it. Well, yes, a wipe is definitely the answer here. Wipe is going to completely counteract most of the damage you've done to the loot pool by creating the deficit in you. Let me give this example. Back to the 16 H-bars. I duplicated 16 H-bars. My total H-bar number is 32, or, it could be fucking 500. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that when I get wiped, all of those H-bars and all of the gear I have is now completely removed from the loot pool. And because of that removal from the loot pool, the entire loot pool as a whole is a bit more healthy. And that's a perfect response. That's why I think wiping was a great idea from the devs. However, there's an issue. The issue comes that sometimes wiping isn't enough. There are people who are going to keep duping even after they get wiped. And we saw a little bit of this on the PS4. They did a large ban wave, and they banned a bunch of very infamous PS4 dupers and cheaters of other sorts. I would suggest they keep doing this. If we learn that there's any infamous dupers, you ban them. I mean, just simply ban them. If they're going to keep doing it after they get wiped, you ban them. Because they're going to keep doing damage. And while, yes, a stash wipe is a good counter to, the regular everyday duper, someone that just keeps doing it over and over and over again, it's still, their damage to the general vigor loot pool is going to be too much for a simple stash wipe to fix. Now, there does have to be addressed that even with all of that's going on, you have the in-game system, the counter dupers, you have the fact that certain dupers got banned, you have the fact that if the in-game system catches you, you get wiped. All these things combined, and we still have an outrageous amount of dupers in the community. So here's what I suggest the community do. I do think the devs should do more. But a lot of what I think the devs should do, I've already said to them, and I think Half Metal Fox can articulate in a much better way than I can. But I think what the community should do is normalize reporting dupers. If you see a guy who's evidently duping, it should be normal for you to sprint to your nearest partner and slam it in their DMs and be like, yo, bro, I just found a duper. Can you please handle this for me? This should be a normalized thing and not something where it's like, well, I saw a duper. I didn't really report him. I didn't feel like it, not my situation. But no, yes, you should report him. Let's try to clean up the community together. If everybody reports these dupers to the partners and to the devs, then they're going to get thinned out eventually. I mean, it's never going to be an issue we completely get rid of, but it's just like cheaters in other games. You have to sit down and on a per-case basis, address them, report them, and get them removed. Just letting them continue to do their thing or justifying it, that, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't hurt me. Well, it does. When there's 16 H-bars, they die. Those 16 H-bars go off to other players who shouldn't have 16 H-bars, and then you get shot by a duped H-bar because now there's just fucking piles of them sitting in the loot pool. And I understand that there's going to be a commenter who writes, well, the loot pool was bad already. And yes, there's a lot of things screwing up Vigor's loot pool. But acting like there's nothing we can do because it was already bad is just kind of ignorance. When a house is on fire, right? And if somebody's pouring gasoline on the burning house, you don't see the firemen going, oh, the house is already on fire. Let's just leave it. Leave the man pouring gasoline on it. No, they get the man with the gasoline away from the house. That man's an arsonist. He's causing far worse problems for everyone already. And by removing one of the arsons, and maybe some of the other things in the future by encouraging devs to fix things in the loot pool, perhaps we can get a balanced loot pool - economy in the upcoming future. But that might just be the optimist in me. I want to hear what you guys think about dupers, and I also really do. If you want to report a duper, my Discord is always open. Just hit me a message over DMs, and I will do my best to report them. And also, I do highly suggest, if you haven't ever heard or ever been in Half Metal Fox's streams, go to one of his and talk to him and he'll go off on a tangent about how dupers are his bane of existence. So, have fun. This has been Chris Reese, and I hope to see you all next time.